Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lunch and Learn session for our Physical Therapist Assistant Program. First, I'd like to apologize for our technical difficulties that we experienced during our live broadcast. We tried and tried to get it to broadcast, and it just wouldn't go. But we've done the next best thing, and we have recorded sessions with all of our presenters from that session. So you'll get to see everything that you would have seen during that session. So let's get started. First, I'm going to cover the program basics and just give you a short intro to the PTA program. Then I will briefly discuss the application process. Later in our session, you'll get to meet Mrs. Tracy Dibble, who is our Director of Enrollment, and she will go through the application process in greater detail. Then I'll hand it over to our PTA faculty, and they will conduct a really in-depth information session for you and give you some basic information on the program itself, what to expect in the classroom, what to expect from clinical, and what to expect after you graduate. So let's get started with the basics. The program is an associate in applied science. It starts each summer, and we're actually accepting applications right now. The program runs 5 semesters, and that is a phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 are the general education courses that you see listed here: Bio 210, 211, Public Speaking, Math 102 or higher, English 101, Medical Terminology, Psych 201 and 203, CPT 101 or CPT 170. You can take either one of those, and a humanities elective. Now, these classes have to be complete by the time the program starts, okay? Our program coordinator is Ms. Lynn Fralix, and you'll get to meet her in a few slides. Now, where do you find info on the Physical Therapist Assistant Program? Go to our website, octech.edu, and scroll over academics. Then you'll see a drop down, and you want to click on Nursing and Health Science. And then a page will come up with all of our nursing and health science programs. You want to look under associate degrees and click on Physical Therapist Assistant. Now, you can also type in our website just like this, octech.edu/programs/physical-therapist-assistant, and then / okay? Either one will work. Now, some things that you need to do if you're thinking about applying to the PTA program: make sure you watch our little video here. This gives you a quick view of our labs, and you'll get to see the program coordinator again and just get a few questions answered. Now, I also want you to take this self-assessment for PTA. This is a great place to start if you're thinking about PTA and you want to make sure it's right for you. And you also want to make sure you're in the right place to start the program. So that's a great self-assessment, just to see if you're in the right headspace to start, if you're in the right, if this is the career for you. Next, you want to go in and download and print the PTA admissions overview. It is right here. Make sure you become familiar with all of the requirements for the application. Everything is listed in that admissions overview document. Now, if you scroll further down that page, you will see, hang on, let me move me. You will see the Health Information Program section of the program page. Now, the Health Information Program section gives you a lot of information on the application itself, how to complete it, what's required, how to know if you're ready to apply. And we do have virtual sessions that are conducted via Zoom, and you can sign up for any of those by clicking any of these, okay? Now, for our application period, make sure you sign up for a February session, because remember, the deadline is approaching and all of these for PTA will be obsolete. If you're going to apply to another program, you can certainly watch or join one of those sessions. Now, we do have the online HIP session option, but again, you don't get the luxury of being able to ask questions or get anything clarified if you're in that session by yourself. So we recommend doing the virtual sessions. Now, let me move me back. Now, the application process, make sure you review that admissions overview. Towards the end of that document, you'll see the rating sheet, which is how you get application points. You also want to attend a HIP session. Virtual sessions are recommended. And the application deadline is February the 25th. So if you go back here where I pointed out the dates for those virtual sessions, it's really good to go ahead and do it on the 2nd or the 17th. The 22nd is cutting it a little close. So if you can get that done on the 2nd or the 17th, you'll be in a much better place, much better position. Now we're going to turn it over to our PTA faculty for the information session. Joining us, we have Mrs. Lynn Fralix, and we also have Mrs. Regina Marsh. Joining us, we have Lynn Fralix. She is the program coordinator for the PTA program. And we also have Regina Marsh, who is the academic coordinator of clinical education. So I will hand it over to Ms. Fralix.
Okay. I'm just going to start with just a little PowerPoint just to give you a little information about what a physical therapist is, the job duties, the salary, and then talk to you a little bit about what to expect once you get into the program. And so, we started the program about 6 years ago at OC Tech, and so we're running strong. And, just to start to give you a little briefing, everybody kind of thinks that physical therapy is all about sports medicine and that's all it is. And that's a big part of it for sure. But I want you to understand that there are other settings and other patient populations that you will also treat. So, things like amputations. Here's, a prosthetic leg. Here's sort of your typical outpatient setting here. We also work with pediatrics, and then we can do some high-tech kind of things with like de-weighting patients that have a hard time putting full weight through their legs. Can use what we call a weight-supported treadmill. Other things are like splinting. There are splinting and orthotics that we'll go through. Here's a continuous passive machine. We work with electrical stimulation, so here's a TENS unit. Balance exercises. You can see the lady standing here tossing the ball on the beanbag and then having to react to catch it. We do a lot of stretching and different exercises using a Swiss ball. We do massage. We do various modalities such as traction down here. And then here's another sample of some of the orthotic kind of things that we do. And so just to talk, exactly what is physical therapy, it is a profession that works to maintain, develop, and restore function. So our big goal is to get patients back to doing things that they have lost the ability to do. So it might include exercises, it might include gait training, which is teaching patients how to walk and get around safely. Different modalities such as your electrical stim, your ultrasound, your hot packs, manual techniques, and of course patient education. And like I said, the primary goal is to ease pain, to improve function, and to improve overall quality of life by getting patients back and ready to take on things that they enjoy doing in life. And then who benefits from physical therapy? So we deal with all body systems. So any impairment to any body system, whether it be the neurological system, the musculoskeletal system, the skin, respiratory, cardiac. So we treat just a wide array of patients. And so understand that, again, while we do treat the sport injuries, such as your meniscal tears, your ACL tears, fractures, things like that, we certainly do work with, but we also work with patients that have had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease or multiple sclerosis, head trauma, CP in kids and pediatrics. And again, even respiratory and cardiac things like heart issues or emphysema, COPD, things like that. Now, a lot of students tend to ask the difference between a PT and a PTA. So There's, several differences. While we kind of do a lot of the same treatment interventions, the PT has a higher role in the supervision of the PT assistant, as well as the schooling, so that they now have to get a doctorate degree to be a physical therapist. But they are the ones in charge of doing the initial evaluation and establishing the plan of care upon which the physical therapist assistant goes by to determine what treatment is appropriate to do. So the physical therapist assistant does a lot of the treatment. So we can do the therapeutic exercise, we can do the neuromuscular re-education, and the different modalities and stuff. But we have to, as a PTA, abide by the plan of care that is put together by the physical therapist. And then the physical therapist sees the patient every 7 to 8 visits, so that they can do what we call a supervisory visit to make sure that the PT assistant is implementing appropriate treatment and the patient's progressing on track like we want them to. And then, the PTA's role is really big in assessment. So you have to be able to assess normal versus abnormal, because if a patient comes in with a certain diagnosis, there are certain things that are expected for the patient to present with, and then there are certain things that are just not normal, upon which the PTA would need to pick up on and then go report back to the PT. And then the PTA, the schooling is 2 years. So there's an associate degree involved instead of the doctorate degree like the physical therapist gets. As far as the role of the physical therapist assistant, again, you will work under the supervision of a PT. You will carry out different physical therapy interventions. You will complete appropriate interventions based on the results that you get from your patient assessment. So you will be able to determine whether you can add weight or change the assisted device or whatever. But based on how the patient presents, you get to make some judgment calls about how to progress a patient, or maybe you need to back off and don't do a treatment that's quite as difficult for the patient. You definitely will learn to document and have to document your findings. And then you will certainly interact with other healthcare team members. So whether that be the nurse, the doctor, the social worker, doesn't matter, but there are a lot of different other healthcare team members that you will work with. And then, of course, PTAs can certainly take on management duties and work with the scheduling patients and different management duties. And as far as the job market and the salary, this statistic that we took is from 2010 and 11, so it's kind of old, but the average salary for a PTA is really good. So the national average salary for a PTA is $48,090, and in South Carolina it's even higher. So in South Carolina, the average salary for a PTA is $56,880, and then understand that different practice settings pay different. So you may make more money in one practice setting than you would in a different practice setting. So, again, that's an average. So that salary can be a little more, a little less, but that's the average. The good thing about the job market is that there is a huge need for physical therapy within our community, as well as the state, as well as the nation. So no matter whether you want to graduate and stay local or move to a different part of the state of South Carolina, or whether you want to move to a different state, you're pretty guaranteed to find a job. And I will say that our students typically get job offers while they're on their clinical rotation before they even graduate. So the job market is really high and really promising for PTAs. And I told you there were a lot of different practice settings that a PTA can work in, and I've listed them here. So you can work in a hospital, a skilled nursing facility, you can work in a pediatric clinic, sports medicine, outpatient, home health, rehab, wound care, private practice, school systems, industrial work hardening programs. So the opportunity is just, unstoppable as far as the wide variety of what you can do. And the good thing is you will learn how to be a PTA that's capable of working in any of those practice settings while you're in school. So if you choose to do outpatients as a new grad, after 5 or 6, 7 years, you want to move on and do and work in a different practice setting, there's no further education or training that you have to go through. you graduate from OC Tech and you are prepared to work in any practice setting that you choose to work in. And so how soon can you work after graduation? So you graduate with OC Tech and you get your associate in applied science degree with a major in physical therapist assistant. You have to sit for a national board exam. And then when you pass that national board exam, you will be able to work. And so as far as work goes, or maintaining your license, you do have to renew your license every 2 years. And other than that, you do have to continue with educational courses. You don't have to go to a school and get a degree, but you do have to have 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years. And once you get accepted into the PTA program, some of the courses we'll talk about next. So you do have to take 10 prerequisite courses during what we call phase 1. So it's a 2-year program. We like to look at it as phase 1 being the first year and phase 2 being the second year. So phase 1, or that first year, basically is when you get to complete all your general education courses. So that's your anatomies, your English, your psychology, your math, your computer, and those 10 courses that I have listed here on this slide. So these 10 courses are prerequisites. You do have to have them complete before you can start the PTA program if you are accepted, okay? Now, to apply to the PTA program, you don't have to have all of these courses finished. You have to at least be in progress of having all of the courses finished. So sometimes students may apply, like we're taking applications now. Sometimes students may apply in January, February, and still be enrolled in, say, public speaking or the second anatomy or something like that. And that's okay, as long as you finish that course by the end of spring semester and you're ready to start the PTA program if it's accepted in the summer. So I do encourage you on the PTA website, on OC Tech's website, there's a PTA link under Health Science and Nursing. I do encourage you to take the Are You Ready self-assessment, because it is a really, really good little assessment that lays out what the program entails. Are you ready, to study all the time? Basically, are you ready to come to class 8 to 4:30 on Monday through Thursday? Are you ready to take 7 weeks and go on a clinical education tour? And so there's all kinds of assessments that will really help you understand what to expect once you get accepted into the program. And I encourage you to take that little self-assessment. Once you get into the program, phase 2, that second and final year of the program, to apply, you do have to have, you have to attend a health information program session, which we call HIP sessions. That's where you get the application. So that's the start. Once you do that, you have to have at least a 2.5 grade point average from the last college that you attended where you took 12 or more credits. You also have to have a C in all 10 of the prerequisite general ed courses. And we say a minimum of a C. We hope you get an A or a B, but if not, you at least have to have a C. You do have to take the required admission or the placement test. We require either the TEAS 5 test, the SAT test, or the ACT. And you have to have certain test scores in whichever test you choose to take. You do have to complete 40 hours of observation work, and that's a minimum. The more you complete, the better, but at least 40 hours of observation work. And we request that you do 2 different practice settings. So we kind of are encouraging the inpatient setting and the outpatient, because I really want students to know upon coming into the program what is expected. So if you think it's all outpatient and you come into the program, first semester, we start with a lot of transfers and gait training and how to manage catheters and IV lines, and that's more acute. So I want you to understand what you're getting into so that you have a full understanding of the expectations. And then, those criteria are the criteria that we require for you to submit your application. And then when you submit your application, we accept the students, the 22 students that have the highest scores on the rating sheet. So the higher your grades, the more points you're going to get. The more observation hours you do, the more points you're going to get. So the more points you get, the better your chances are of getting accepted. And so, we encourage you to do your best in phase 1 so that your chances of getting into phase 2 are high. And courses for phase 2, you can see here, it starts in the summer. You'll take courses, you'll take more courses in the fall, you'll take more courses in the spring, and 1 year later, you will graduate. So you also see in phase 2 that every course you take is physical therapy related. There are no more gen eds in phase 2. It is all about physical therapy. And so my advice to you is to study hard, to make good grades, and that's especially in phase 1, because in phase 1, for you to apply, we require that you make at least a C or better. When you get into the program and you start in phase 2, you've got to have a B or better. So you only can make an A or B to stay in the program, okay? So you do have high expectations in the program because it's such a fast-paced program that we take you through over the course of 3 semesters, and you have to stay on top of things so that you are prepared to pass that national board exam once you're finished with the program at OC Tech. I do encourage you to observe as much as you can so that you can really see and know before you come into the program that this career is the right one for you. Once in the program, you got to designate study time, okay? It is fast-paced, it is intense, it is very doable if you devote your time to it. We do not recommend that you take on this program and attempt to work full-time or even part-time, okay? I know students, some students have to work, and we just say work the least amount of hours that you can to survive, but the focus really, really has to be on this program, because even though you're in class 8 to 4:30 on Monday through Thursday, you still have lots of homework and study time and projects and stuff that you have to do outside of class time. So be organized, be committed, stay on top of your study, and expect to spend about 4 extra hours practicing the skills that you will learn outside of regular scheduled class time. And I'm going to let Ms. Marsh take over and talk to you about clinical education.
So as far as clinical education is concerned, we have contracts to 75 plus locations in the state of South Carolina. From Greenville to Myrtle Beach to Rock Hill to Beaufort to Charleston. So we have tons of locations throughout the state. Now we do try to get facilities that are in as close proximity as we can, but sometimes that can be difficult based on the locations that are available at the time. So we try our best to, but students need to know sometimes when it comes to going to clinic that you may have to travel. So that should be expected for the student to possibly travel during the clinical rotation. There are 2 7-week clinical rotations, one at the end of the fall semester and one at the end of the spring semester. You will have 1 inpatient rotation and 1 outpatient rotation. So inpatient would be like a nursing home, acute care, where the patient is inside the facility and they're not able to leave and come back. Outpatient is where the patient is not really staying in there. They're just coming to the facility to receive those services.
Okay, so if there are any questions, here's the contact information. Here's just OC Tech's phone number. Miss Dr. Brown that we spoke to earlier, the Dean of Assistant Dean Arts and Sciences, the Dean of Nursing and Health Science, Candace Tooley. But if you want direct questions answered about the PTA program, my name is here and my phone number is here. So Lynn Fralix and 803-535-1305. And then you've got Miss Marsh, who is in charge of clinical education. So if you have questions about clinical education, I refer you to her. And her number is the 803-535-1259. So I hope this has answered much of your questions. And if you have more questions, feel free to contact me. I'd love to talk to you and answer anything you have question-wise about the program so that you have a good idea of the expectations.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fralix and Ms. Marsh. We really appreciate your time. So now I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Tracy Dibble, who is our Director of Enrollment, and she will give us more in-depth information about the application process. We have Tracy Dibble joining us. She is the Director of Enrollment, and I will hand it over to her.
Hey guys, thank you so much for letting me participate in this panel through Zoom. I want to talk a little bit about our PTA program. First of all, let me go ahead and introduce, again, Tracy Dibble, Director of Enrollment, and I'm here to talk about our PTA and how you can apply. And I won't get into all the boring details, but let me give you some highlights about our PTA program and stuff. Well, we've started taking packets. We started that endeavor on January the 18th, and we'll conclude our last packet on February the 25th. So you need to make sure you have your stuff in before February the 25th. We're hoping to make sure we communicate to our students about this process, if they got accepted one way or the other, by March the 12th. So it's a quick turnaround, but remember, PTA is a summer acceptance. All the general education courses will need to be completed prior to turning in your packet, or at least be in those last semester classes this spring, so that you'll have everything completed prior to the admissions process in the summer for PTA. PTA is a little bit different from some of the other medical programs. Yep, you're right. You still got to attend that HIP session. That's the only place you can get your packet to apply to the PTA program. Information about our HIP session is posted on our website under academics, and make sure you click on PTA and you can follow the next steps to attend a HIP session. HIP stands for Health Information Program Session, so that you will get everything you need to know on how to apply to this wonderful program. PTA takes about 22 students one time a year, and it's a summer, fall, spring program. So you're done, not too long. So see there, it's an awesome program. The overview where you can find information about the program is also underneath academics, right before you click on the HIP sessions. So I would challenge you to take a few minutes, read that overview, frontwards, backwards, inside and out, put it down and reread it again. I promise you there'll be stuff on there that you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was on there. So take a few minutes of your time to read the overview. It's no hidden agenda on how to compete, but it's a lot of information. So take a few minutes to read that. We even have out there information about projected expenses. This is quite an expensive program, but we want you to be prepared. So we actually laid out, with the help of Miss Lynn, information on how to project for once you're into the program. We have it broken up into semesters. So again, take a few minutes about looking over the expense program for the PTA program. The other thing that really kind of hurts a lot of people when they're trying for the PTA program are those observation hours. Don't forget and don't neglect them. Go ahead now and be getting some observation hours in. This program requires a minimum of at least 40 hours of observation. So we want it's called basically two different settings. I'm getting confused here. Inpatient and outpatient. When in doubt, you have questions about that, Ms. Fralix can better help you or assist you with the clinical observation hours. So make sure you maybe touch base with her. Her information will be found on that overview sheet that's on the website. So take a few minutes again and look at that piece. But yes, you want to try to get as many observation hours as you can. The more you have, the more points you're going to receive. So that's one of the things that's a little bit different from the other programs. Observation hours are basically you're working with a PT. So it's a great experience and it's a great opportunity for you to get a better understanding of this PTA program. Let me talk a little bit about the rating sheet real quick before I go. This is one of the only programs that do require one of 3 testing. They look at SAT, ACT, they also look at TEAS, and they look at your bachelor's degree. So those are the areas or the ways that you can look at for what we call section 1 of this overview or rating sheet. So you need to make sure you're getting some good scores there, because those scores there are going to give you some high points. And you really want to try to get as many points as possible. The TEAS is something you can take here at OC Tech. We only give it on Tuesdays around 1:30 in the afternoon, but it's quite an expensive endeavor. It's $95 a pop. So you want to make sure you brush up or study before you go take this test, because you don't want to take it blindsided. So prepare yourself. $95 a clip is a nice little chunk of change. We'd rather you spend your money on the necessary items at PTA. So take advantage of prepping before if you're needing to take the TEAS. SAT and ACT, we certainly take those as well. I would encourage you to even study and prepare for those. You can go to College Board or to ACT, and there's lots of information out there on how to study for those kind of tests. Other things we look at is, this is one of the only few programs that look at your cumulative GPA. All the others, they look at your GPA in those particular classes, not PTA. We look at your cumulative. Ms. Fralix wants to have at least 12 or more credit hours from one institution. So that's where your GPA is going to be coming from. And again, we look at your cumulative. So look at your transcript. At the very bottom should list your cumulative GPA, and that's the GPA that we're going to come up with to give you points there. Other things, we give you points for coursework. Miss Lynn wants to give you points for having biology. That's 210 and 211, English, and your math 102. The higher the grade, the more points you're going to receive. So an example, if you took Bio 210, whether you took it here or you transferred it in, if you make an A, you can get up to 7 points. That's pretty darn good. Whereas your math and English, you're going to get for an A at least 3 points. So take advantage of doing the best you can in these courses so that you can hopefully earn some high points there. We give a little points for residency. All our programs look at that. And let me give you a little reason why. We do a lot of our clinical settings or practicals over at the hospital. Well, a lot of our instructors are paid in Orangeburg and Calhoun County by taxpayers. So we want to give a little incentive. Obviously, 2 points or 5 points for the PTA program being a resident is not going to give you an outlandish score, but certainly can help. So again, for those of you who are saying, well, I don't live in Orangeburg or Calhoun, I'm at a disadvantage, you're not. You can always make it up in other areas and stuff too. So don't let that bring you down with that 5 points. Again, observation hours, minimum is 40. We want to see you get a lot more than 40. We have a lot of packets that come in and they get the bare minimum. Again, you want to get more points, you can get up to 161 hours and you can earn up to 10 points there. Take advantage of all these little extra points where you can. We look at bonus points. We give you points for having some kind of degree. We give you a certificate and stuff. So if in doubt, you need to maybe get some points with a certificate, such as in CNA and stuff, by all means, you can earn some extra points there. These, again, are not required for points, but again, you have to have all those general classes completed by the time the program starts in the summer. Again, we go over this in depth when you attend that HIP session. Take advantage of attending the Zoom, much more thorough when you attend the Zoom, but anyhow, if you're not able to, by all means, do it online. And remember, don't forget to turn in your packet by February the 25th, so hopefully you can hear something soon. Thanks, and y'all have a great day.
Thank you so much, Mrs. W. Have a great day. Well, that brings us to the end of our session. I want to thank you for viewing the Lunch and Learn for the Physical Therapist Assistant Program. My name is Stephanie Brown. I'm the Dean of Healthcare Preparation and Workforce. Should you have any questions or you need to contact me, please do so at gadsonsc@octech.edu. We do have a few other ways to get in touch with us. If you have any questions about our programs, you can contact us at healthcare@octech.edu. If you want to contact student services and you have any questions about your, any questions at all really, you can contact them at askme@octech.edu. If you have admissions questions, you can contact admissions@octech.edu. Financial aid, you can contact them at finaid@octech.edu. And if you're having any trouble in any of your current classes, if you need to go over time management, study skills, if you want to get a tutor, or if you're having any struggles whatsoever, you can contact the Student Success Center at success@octech.edu. And thanks again for joining us.